G'day trendsetters, coming to you today with my review video of the Trek Checkpoint SL Generation 3 carbon gravel bike. Earlier I posted a first look video at this particular bike. Since then I've been running it all over the countryside. Gentle reminder, this is not a clickbait wanky bullshit video masquerading as a review but recorded inside a showroom. This is a real-world review and it's time to crack on. Trek Checkpoint SL Generation 3 features the company's 500 series OCLV carbon. They saved the really high zoot stuff, the 800 series, for their other gravel bike just launched recently as well, the Checkmate. Fantastic name, I have to say. That bike's rather racy. The revised Checkpoint SL is designed to be more mellow, more pleasant, and more capable. In fact, Trek no longer offers the Checkpoint SLR. If you haven't figured it out already, the Checkpoint SLR has been replaced by the Checkmate. Continuing on, this new Checkpoint SL is all about increased capabilities, increased clearances, and versatility. That begins with larger tyre clearance, namely 700C by 50mm, and more clearance for carrying water bottles. These are the Trek Voders. They will hold 32 ounces of fluid. There's plenty of room to pull those bottles in and out from their respective cages. There's also a ton of mounting points for bags. In fact, Trek has done a fantastic job with this new line of adventure bags that are specifically designed to integrate in a pleasing manner with this particular bike and incidentally with the new Checkmate. With that said, I cannot attest to the performance of this bike with Trek's bags or third-party bags for that matter. This review is primarily on the focus of the overall bike in its bare package, just carrying your standard water bottles, etc. Continuing with the mounts, obviously you've got your traditional places on the down tube and seat tube for water bottle mounts. On the top tube we have one of my favorite mounts, the bento box, the feed bag mount. Honestly, if any manufacturer circa 2024 is not offering that mount on their bike, well, they've kind of missed the boat. Pressing downwards to the bottom end of the bike, Trek has below the down tube what I like to call a mount for the cow catcher position. It's not the best place to mount a drinking water bottle, but perhaps you might want to keep some spares there. Well, hello there. On the subject of tool and spares storage, Trek has a much better option with this new Checkpoint SL Generation 3. They've enlarged the internal storage capacity of this bike. Simply pop open the hatch and you can store several tools, perhaps a tube or two, whatever strikes your fancy. Further mounting points include those on this all-carbon taper steered tube fork. Plenty of options nowadays, but the world is your oyster. And of course, Trek would be completely remiss if they did not include rack and fender mounts front and rear. All of this capability and versatility means that Trek has revised their geometry. Nowadays, they call this new geometry gravel endurance geometry. Basically, it favors a more relaxed type fit, meaning a higher and shorter reach, or explained differently, a longer top tube and a shorter stem, which is becoming a very popular concept with many modern day gravel bikes around the time of this video. Consequently, this type of bike may appeal to a broader base of riders and rides across all manner of terrain, whether it's a short ride, an all-day ride, or a multi-day ride. I'll cover my thoughts on the bike's geometry and feel later during the riding experience part of this video, but I need to point out I did substitute the stock stem. On this size medium Checkpoint SL Gen 3, it's shipped with a Bontrager stem measuring 80mm. Right there you're seeing a 90mm Ritchie WCS stem. It's a -17 stem. Ordinarily, I would have chosen another Bontrager stem in 90mm, but I simply didn't have one available. Big thanks to my mate Mike. G'day mate if you're watching, for loaning this stem in a jam. I have a couple of spaces beneath the stem and it has dropped me just a smidge from where I would be with a 90mm stem and a 6-degree rise. Therefore, keep this in mind. If you purchase this bike, you might need to work with your local dealer to get your fit completely dialed in. On the positive, swapping the stem was an absolute joy. Whilst this bike is integrated, it's semi-integrated. That means the hydraulic brake housings run inside the headset top cap and through the headset bearing, inside the fork and of course inside the frame, but there's no integration, meaning no internalization of the stem or the handlebar. That makes life super simple for fitting. Over to the rear end of the bike, IsoSpeed continues with the Generation 3 checkpoint. The system is designed to isolate you from the largest of bumps, and it's featured in earlier variants of the checkpoint. I'm pleased to say there is no proprietary seat post in this version of the checkpoint. The older Generation 2 checkpoint SLR utilized two different sized proprietary seat posts. Those are gone. 27.2 standard seat post, fantastic stuff. The frame also has support for a dropper seat post. Additionally, the geometry is designed to play with a 40mm travel suspension fork on most sizes of this bike. Over to the drivetrain spec, the Trek Checkpoint Generation 3 SL7 is kitted out with SRAM's excellent Force ETAP Access XPLR. What a mouthful. 1x12 speed drivetrain. That drivetrain centers around a 10-to-44 cassette. There is a 42 chainring on that crankset. This drivetrain is excellent. I have reviewed a variant of it. It's linked in the description below or the little box on screen. However, there are some less spendy variants of the Trek Checkpoint SL available. There's also the SL5 and the SL6. They are respectively kitted out with SRAM's Apex equivalent of this drivetrain and SRAM's rival equivalent of this drivetrain, and obviously there have been some substitutions with some of the other components you see on the bike. No matter your choice there, all of those drivetrains are fantastic if you favor 1x. Trek has completely locked themselves into 1x with SRAM for all of their Checkpoint SL builds, which is a little bit perplexing. That even goes down to the UDH mount. So there's no Shimano pre-built offerings. With that said, you can purchase this frame and fork by itself and build it to your heart's content. There are adapters available for the UDH to Shimano, and thankfully there is a 2x front derailleur mount available for this bike. 2x lovers like me, rejoice, the world is not over. You have choices available. Final point regarding SRAM, should you desire the latest and greatest SRAM ETAP Red Explore 13 speed, that's 1x13 speed drivetrain just launched recently, you'll have to go out and purchase yourself a Checkmate. That's the only pre-built bike you can source that drivetrain from if you're desiring a Trek. However, some good news, I am reviewing that group set. I have it available in kit form. We'll be conducting a little project and reviewing the group set long term. Stay tuned. Wrapping up the tech specs, the wheels are by Trek sister company Bontrager. They are the Aeolus Elite 35V. 35 is the number of millimeters deep, this carbon fiber rim. And the tires are by Bontrager as well. They are the Girona, measuring 700C by 42 millimeters. Both are tubeless, ready to go. The wheels are no nonsense, 24 spokes front and rear and center lock for the hubs. As for the tires, you can learn more about those in the link below or the little box on screen. I more than likely won't be reviewing the wheels and tires separately. Rather, I'll be posting my thoughts shortly on the overall package of the Trek Checkpoint SL. Okay, trendsetters, that is the tech specs covered. Now it's time to find out how the Trek Checkpoint SL Generation 3 carbon gravel bike rides. Stating the obvious, the Trek Checkpoint SL Generation 3 steers away from racing or very spirited riding. You now have the dedicated Checkmate for those duties. However, whilst the geometry has changed to be more forgiving with more clearance, storage and more, it doesn't necessarily mean Gen 3 is a stooge fest bike. It is definitely less nimble and aggressive than the Generation 2 Checkpoint SLR, far a bike I've spent a decent amount of time aboard, but Generation 3 still capably gets up and goes when you step on it, and on this size medium/54, I didn't mind the newer geometry. The front end isn't too much higher than Generation 2, and I made it work pretty well with a stem swap. Obviously, a 6-degree rise stem with less spaces would have been optimal, but you get my point. The positive with the revised geometry, Trek has gotten away from trying to position the Checkpoint as an all-round bike, rather focusing on a bike firmly aimed at fun times and adventure with excellent tyre clearance, and I think a much better fit for more riders who aren't necessarily interested in hammering through the countryside. I've collaborated with my friends at Trek Travel on several occasions, and I can see this new Checkpoint SL as being the perfect bike for that operation, along with the 1x SRAM electronic drivetrain. With that said, I tackled many steep climbs and dodgy descents astride Generation 3. I was expecting the bike to feel slow, especially when descending, but the bike tackles speed with calm manners, forgiving even, but with comfort and predictability. I favour seated climbing, and whilst I prefer a more traditional tight-fitting bike with shorter top tube and longer stem, I was pleased with how the bike felt chugging along beneath me. I will say it is a bit of a head-scratcher as to why Trek has gone all in with SRAM 1x on every pre-built model, including the Checkmate. They have definitely left the 2x buyers out in the cold, and from my observations, 2x has made a strong resurgence the past couple of years. Thankfully, there are adapters for UDH allowing you to use Shimano and so on, along with a 2x front derailleur mount, and I would opt for a 2x build if I had the choice. Still, there's plenty of positives about SRAM 1x12 XPLR drivetrains. They work so well, and the latest, the 13-speed variant of that drivetrain, which I'm reviewing at the moment, is looking pretty good. Keep all of this in mind if you're considering a Checkpoint, as a frame-only option is available if you choose another drivetrain other than SRAM, or you must have a 2x configuration. IsoSpeed still does the same. You can barely feel its benefits unless you really think about it, but it's there, making a slight difference to larger bumps. But remember, adjust your tyre pressure appropriately. That makes the biggest difference to overall comfort on a bike of this nature. IsoSpeed isn't intrusive with its decoupling mechanism, and aesthetically is much better than a dodgy looking suspension seat post. Integration on this bike isn't super annoying and won't piss off your local mechanic. I performed the stem swap easily. Thank you, Trek, for running cables externally outside of the handlebar and stem and through the custom headset top cap. That's the only bit of real internalization you need to worry about when it's time to replace headset bearings. There were multiple comments about the Bontrager Pro gravel handlebar on my social media, mostly positive. On the size 54 variants, the handlebar is 42 centimeters center to center, and I've found even with the 15 degrees of flare, it didn't bother me too much, even riding extended periods on the brake hoods. No, I'm still not a flared bar convert, but this handlebar is definitely one of the more pleasing models out there, at least in my opinion. That includes riding the drops, which add about 6 centimeters to overall width. The bar simply features very good feel and control. I haven't got myself sorted out properly with stashing spares and such into the downtube storage area, but the increased space is a big positive and it's easy to access. The stock wheelset isn't something I plan on reviewing separately, but being carbon, they have their merits, although I'm thinking they aren't the most premium of offerings. However, at this price point, they are an excellent complement to the rest of the spec. They played well with the Checkpoint and did everything I asked of them reliably and without losing spoke tension or going out of true. The Bontrager Girona RSL tubeless tyres feel fast. The tread pattern should be an indication of that. It isn't a tyre I would roll on the dodgiest of terrain, but it more than capably handled rough gravel roads with decent gravelly depth here and there. I don't lean gravel tyres hard into corners no matter their tread pattern, but with this bike, wheels and tyres, it's a nice little package to start out with. Overall, the Checkpoint SL Generation 3 is very good, borderline still an all-rounder, but one that will treat you right in more riding situations. It isn't a bike that screams to me, "Ride me now," or makes my heart race when I think about it, but there isn't a negative. Some potential customers may balk at the price point comment I made earlier, as this bike will set you back around US $5,700. It isn't the lightest offering at about 20 pounds, which includes Shimano XTR pedals, King titanium bottle cages, K-Edge computer mount, and neat components radar tail light mount. But look at the overall spec in this landscape of bikes costing several $1,000s more for an almost identical spec. You also get Trek's lifetime warranty and a humongous Trek dealer network. So there you have it, trendsetters, my real world, no bull review of the very nice Trek Checkpoint SL carbon gravel bike. I sincerely hope that you found this review to be somewhat helpful, because nowadays there's an absolute bloody smorgasbord of gravel bikes on the market for your purchasing and perusing pleasure. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel for real world, no bullshit gravel bike videos such as this one, other product reviews, ride experience videos, and my favorite, often involving those dogs. They're around here somewhere. Tuesday. What? You are getting angry because I won't let you outside. Tuesday. Tuesday. You want to go mess with the bloody fence. I know there's a critter over the other side of the fence. You want to mess with it. You got problems. Tripod problems. Yes, as all of it is released to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.